Well, good evening, everyone. Dr. Tom Preston with you here tonight. Glad you've chosen to join us for Vision, your roadmap to your most authentic life. It's a privilege and an honor to have you here, and I'm glad you've taken time out of your life to join us, whether you're here live or you're here on the recording. It's always an honor to share my thoughts and ideas with other people, and particularly when I'm confident it's going to make a difference in their life. So thank you for caring enough about your life and the lives of the people you serve to consider looking at your vision and how to actually make it clear, because with a clear vision, you have unlimited power to be and do anything that you choose to do in your life. So in this format, webinar format, it's a little bit of a rhetorical question, but I would like to start tonight with a question. And that question for you to answer to yourself is, how many of you would love to make a difference with your life? In other words, how many of you would love to leave the planet a better place than you found it? And unless you're different than every other audience I've spoken to around the world when I've asked that question, 99.9999% of all people raise their hands and say the same thing. Yes, I would love to make a difference in my life. I'd love to leave the planet a better place than I found it. And so my offering to you is that, if that's happening around the world, on every continent on the planet that I've had the privilege of speaking, and 99.99% of all hands go up, I would offer that that's an innate or a within thing that's not just unique to North Americans or just unique to chiropractors or just unique to male or female, but in fact, it's a unique thing, it's an authentic thing, it's an innate thing that's true of all human experience. Because see, I want to start our concept tonight. I want to start with a prefix or a construct, in order to build the rest of the evening upon. And that construct is quite simply, all living things want to express themselves in their own unique and particular organic way. A salmon always wants to swim up the same stream every spring. In the fall, a goose wants to go south. A moth, you turn a light on, a moth is going to go to a light every time. Every living thing on planet Earth wants to express itself in a certain unique and authentic way. And I say that's no different for you or for me. We all have within us a desire to express itself in a certain unique and authentic way. The clearer we are about what that is for us, and the more we operate from that place of clarity, that place of authenticity, is to the degree that we have access to all of the unlimited power, wisdom, and creativity that permeates all living things with this thing we call life force, this thing we call prana, this thing we call chi, this thing that animates the living beings and was what literally makes the difference between a corpse and a living being. Because if I was to fall over dead this second, and some of you may cheer, because at least then I'd shut up and my wife's fantasies would be fulfilled in terms of me not being speaking anymore. Literally, if you were to measure me and weigh me and do all of the physical sciences to measure me, I would be exactly the same as I was the second before I died. But rather, obviously, there's something different. There's something missing within that. And that is that life spark, that essence, that energy, that innate, that part that makes us, unique and special. And that's the piece I want to talk about tonight. That's the context upon which I want to build our entire time together tonight. It's that piece of you. It's that most authentic part of you that wants to express itself in a certain unique and authentic way. For me, part of that expression is as a father to 5 amazing daughters. Part of it is as a husband. Part of it is as a son. Part of it is as a brother. Part of it is as a friend. Part of it is as a chiropractor. Part of it is as a coach consultant. Part of it is a business person. Part of it an athlete. There's many different aspects or facets to the diamond called, Dr. Tom Preston's expression of his most authentic self. But the difference between me now versus me years ago was I'm crystal clear about what all of those aspects are. I know what they are, and I know exactly to a T exactly how I want to express them, in this life. And that, to me, folks, has made all of the difference in the world relative to what's possible for me in my life and the impact that I'm having in my family, in my community, in my business, and so on. So just to give you a little bit of background for those that haven't had a chance to spend, much time with, I was born to a blue collar working class family in central northern Ontario in Canada here. And, I wanted to become a chiropractor, but I didn't know, even what it was like to go to university. I've got 32 cousins, come from a very large family. There's very few of them had even, gone on past high school, some of them even high school dropouts. So, whether I could accomplish that or not, I had no idea, but I decided to take a stab at it, went, studied, worked hard, and graduated magna cum laude. I borrowed 100 grand from a bank who was dumb enough at the time, quite frankly, to lend it to me because I had no equity to offer as collateral, and opened 2 practices from scratch. But I had absolutely no goals. I had no clarity of vision. And that void's become my value, which is why I want to share this with you people so that you don't have to go through some of the tough times that I did, wandering around in the abyss of life, wondering what it was I was here to do, and wondering for clarity what goals I should be setting and how I should be, living my life. So it's no wonder I wasn't living the life of my dreams. I was living a life of default. And having lived both aspects of that, folks, a life of default and a life of passion and a life of commitment and a life of purpose and a life of authentic expression, trust me, you do not want to live your life by default. It's not a very rewarding or fulfilling place to be. So I found one of my earlier coach advisors in my life and invested a fair bit of time, energy, and quite frankly, money that at the time I didn't have, but felt the wisdom of continuing to invest in my education besides just my, structured formal university education. And that has made all the difference for me in terms of getting, the essence of the stuff. So here's what I offer to you as we build out tonight. If you notice the slide that I just put up, I contend that all people on planet Earth are like a patchwork quilt. And what I mean by that is that, we come into this life basically fairly blank, okay? Another slide I want to share with you is, this slide. It's like you come into life like a blank computer, okay? You've got an operating system, but you're just a blank, hard drive. You don't have any software programs loaded on. And so if we go back to this other slide where we're talking about the patchwork quilt analogy, it's like all of these influences in our life, our parents, our preachers, our teachers, our siblings, our friends, they all start to influence and start to give us their feedback and their thoughts about our life and who we are and what we're capable of and, all of that sort of stuff. And in the process of going, through all of that, and I'm sure they meant well and mean well, what happens though is we end up with this patchwork quilt idea of our identity. We end up with this patchwork quilt example of our vision for lives. And we'll talk about this later in the program, but if you listen to your language, you can often hear what's authentic and what's not by literally the words that you use. When you hear yourself saying words like I ought to, I got to, I have to, I need to, or my all-time favorite, I should, because when you should all over yourself, it really is a bit of a mess, okay? So when you hear yourself saying those words, realize that that's an outside in voice. That's patchwork quilt. That's outside voices and influences coming in, telling you what you think your life should look like, what your vision should be like, instead of what's truly authentic for you. If you want to tap into the language of authenticity, you're listening for yourself internally or externally saying words like, I choose this, I desire this, I love this. That's inside out stuff. And when you can operate from that place of authenticity, folks, and you have that clarity of vision from that place, you will never work another day in your life because it will just be joyous abundance. And it's not like you don't exert effort. We'll talk about that in a minute, but it's your time spent will no longer be that dirty 4-letter word called work. All right, there's a concept, if you're not familiar with it, it's a concept of value systems. Because I want to share this slide with you. It's a really important slide. It helps create the context for tonight, which is we're looking at what I call your life map. And if you look at the very top part of it, from the bottom working to the top, at the very top, it's your life. It's the results. It's where you're at currently. And your life or the results you're getting in your life are a direct result of the things you're doing, the actions you're taking, or the things you're not doing, the inactions. And those actions or inactions, whether you do this or don't do this, are driven by choices. But underneath choices are your intentions or commitments. But underneath your intentions or commitments is your philosophy of life or your principles. But underneath that, folks, is your core values or beliefs. Your core values or beliefs literally create the results in your life. You just may not be aware of what they are. So getting access to your core values, getting crystal clarity about your core values and why they are what they are, they can now dictate your behavior. They can influence your philosophy, which creates your intentions or commitments, which leads to choices, which takes action or inaction, which then gives you the results of your life. Too many people want to work around in the world of choice. I'll just make different choices. And that works well for about 48 hours. And you get other people say, well, I'm just going to make a commitment, a New Year's commitment, a New Year's intention that I'm going to lose, 40 pounds this year. And the gyms get really busy in January until maybe the 3rd, 4th week. And usually by middle of February, by Valentine's Day particularly, pretty much everything's back to the way it was, right? And the reason, it's not like they don't have willpower, folks. It's not like they aren't actually making a statement. It's just that the values and beliefs about who they are, what they're capable of in the world and how they see themselves haven't been reformatted or haven't been reframed. And so the patterns of choices that they're making based upon their commitments and the actions or inactions they're taking are going to be predictably the same. So working from a place of awareness of your values, working from a place of awareness about your core values and beliefs is where really the juice of life happens. And, I'll offer it to you later, but I'll plant the seed now. We have a great core values process that allow you to work through that. It'll be one of my gifts to you tonight, just because I know it'll make such a big difference in your life. So let me just share with you, for the sake of transparency, my values as they currently exist. My number one value is family, love, and connection. And, as a result of that, you can imagine that I likely, had a fairly big family. And this is a relatively recent picture, a year ago Christmas, of my family, 5 daughters, my beautiful wife, Shelley. And again, when you see that I have a high core value of family, love, and connection, you would expect the behavior based upon that, if you look at the life map, would be that I would likely have a bunch of kids. And likely that a big part of my chiropractic practice would be a pediatric-based practice, because I shared the value. I loved people. I loved connection. I loved that sense of family. And so building a family wellness-based practice fit my value systems. And if I tried to build a practice that wasn't based upon that value, it would be a lot harder, / I would never really achieve it, because it wasn't congruent with my values. If there's a slide I want you to really memorize, folks, it's this slide right here. This is an absolute game changer relative to understanding who you are, who you're not, and why you do what you do, or why you don't do what you don't do. And so we want to make sure that you get a good handle on that. Okay. So again, values predict behavior. So again, if you go back to my values, my second value of business, service, and authentic spiritual expression, you can imagine that, I loved and put a fair bit of time and energy into, building my practice and my coach consulting practice today. Why? Because it's a natural extension of who I authentically am. You can also imagine, like with a core value, my third value of freedom, you can also imagine why I do, many of the goofy things that I do with adventure and so on, like, taking several weeks off of work a couple of years ago in August and, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa. Why I go big game hunting all the time, and why I do whitewater kayaking and some of the other things that I do, because it supports my value of freedom. It is, again, going back to this earlier slide, it is a complete representation of the actions I take, the choices I make, the intentions and commitments that are, driven from those values of adventure and freedom. Okay. Also understand that I have a high value in health. You can imagine why, I literally get up at usually 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I do what I call my morning rituals, which involves meditation, involves subconscious healing code work, involves yoga, tai chi, a bit of resistance exercise, and usually a hike in nature. Because again, that several hours that it takes me to do that is all about me being healthier in mind, body, and spirit. But the behavior, the actions, the choices I'm making are completely congruent with my value systems. And so it's not work to me. It's not an effort for me to get up at 5:30 and do that stuff. It's just an extension of who I am. It's no different than a goose who wants to fly south every friggin' winter, or a salmon that wants to go up a stream. It's innate. It's authentic. It's organic. I couldn't do anything else, but that. Okay. So how does this translate? How do you get from values to vision? Well, when you build your vision based upon those values, you now have that energy, that creative energy, that power, that wisdom that comes from that place of authenticity, which in my world literally is tied to the universal intelligence. And I now have that on my side, right? So my vision for my life and my practice was to have a 6-figure net income, working 30 hours or less, usually about 25 to 26 hours a week, and taking 10 to 12 weeks of, recreation time, or what my mentor calls recreation time, or holidays, right? Because I wanted to be able to spend a lot of time with my family. Why? Because I had a high value of family, love, and connection. It would be incongruent for me to build a business that had me working 60 hours a week when I had a high value of family, love, and connection. I really wanted to actually spend time with these human beings, right? So this vision, hopefully you can get, was a complete result of my values. The reason I was only working 25 to 26 hours a week is because I could create the income that I chose through my vision to support my values without having to work more than that. And I got to play with my kids and enjoy and spend time with them. It is a rarity, folks, that I missed a volleyball game, a dance recital, a violin expression, a drum lesson, any of the different, things my children have been involved in over the many, many years, because it supported my values. Now, could I have made more money had I worked more hours? Yeah, maybe. But would that have made me joyous and fulfilled and fed my soul? Probably not, or else I probably would have done it, right? Taking 10 to 12 weeks of recreation time. Could I have, worked more hours and more weeks and maybe made more money? Yes, but to what avail? To what event? So that then maybe someday I could slow down and retire when my children are older and I don't get a chance to spend time with them? That's incongruent. And it seemed absolutely hypocritical to my way of being in the world. So for me, the key then was design a vision and a life plan that was supportive of my values and that was congruent with the actions that I wanted to take as a result of that. So now, my main purpose as a chiropractor was the detection and release of subluxations for the enhancement of human potential. And I'm still doing that in my role as a coach, consultant, speaker, trainer. It's just that I'm using different tools. I'm still practicing, in my mind, chiropractic. I'm still detecting and releasing subluxations for the enhancement of human potential. I'm just using different tools now. I'm not using as much hands-on. I'm using tools like a webinar. I'm using tools like my voice. I'm using tools like telephone. I'm using tools like the internet, like Skype, and to help people get connected to who they authentically are, how they want to do it. I'm removing subluxations above the atlas, which my mentor, BJ Palmer, was pretty clear that that's where most of the subluxations existed anyways. So let's go as we walk through the next sort of 30 minutes together or so. Let's talk about what it is that we're going to, our intention is, and what we want you to create here. Okay, so these are, in my mind, benefits of having vision clarity and creating a plan. You're going to get greater clarity about who you are and who you're not, and what you should be doing as a result, and quite frankly, what you shouldn't be doing as a result. So many choices about how to spend your time, folks. Many of my clients get really confused about that. And again, you have the clarity about your values and the actions and goals that come from that. It's really easy to know where to spend your time. You get clarity in the hologram of your life and how your personal life serves your professional life and vice versa. Clarity on how big of a business you desire and how many people you should serve as a result. Most chiropractors are very confused about this. I was in Edmonton lecturing several years ago, and a very well-known chiropractor out there. I said, who here can tell me how many people they want to serve a week? This guy raised his hand and he goes, 400. And I said, why? And he goes, well, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, yeah, but why? And he says, well, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, yeah, but why? And he goes, well, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, but why? And I pushed him down. We literally got to the 9th why, and he literally jumped up, screamed at the top of his lungs, 157 people, I don't effing know why. It was hysterical. The entire place just lost it. We just lost our shit. And literally the bottom line is most docs don't know what their numbers are. Whether it's 100 a week or 8,000 a week isn't the point. It's what's behind that. And does it support your values? Does it support the clarity of vision, right? Even how many hours you should be working in the clinic, how many holidays you should be taking, when you should be, your exit strategy, the systems you need, how many new clients you should have, how big of a team, where to find your team. All of these things are things that you can get as a result of us spending our time together and you clarifying your vision. So let's get farther down the rabbit hole, folks, right? This whole process really starts with understanding and getting that clarity, as I said earlier in my intro, about who you are and who you're not, right? If you look at the 5 branches of philosophy, they are commonly referred to as metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, politics, and aesthetics. All right. And, metaphysics are really just, it's your base premise about the nature of reality and where you are in the world, so to speak. Where your epistemology is a way to validate your metaphysical assertions about things. Okay. So relative to the concept here, what we want to be focusing on is our core values and beliefs and how, in fact, those are the driving force or the base level foundation upon which everything else it is that you do in your life. From this place of core values and beliefs and getting that clarity, and by the way, again, I have a questionnaire I'm happy to share with you guys because I know the impact it can make in your life. I'll give you the URL later on in the talk, but I want to be sure you understand why I think it's important that you clarify your core values. We've got a very involved, in-depth 12-page questionnaire in our coaching programs, but there's a simplified version that is very effective and can help you get that clarity. Because if you don't start with that who am I and why am I who I am in the world and what is it I want my life to look like as a result of that, it's probably impossible to create that clarity of vision. Once you've got that who am I and how do I know it stuff figured out, then the next step is to literally look at your purpose, your mission, and the things that run from that. Okay. So purpose is defined in Webster's as the reason something exists or is done. So, what is your purpose? What is it you do? My purpose statement years ago started out as this big, long, verbose, multiple paragraph document. And I boiled it down, edited it down, and got clarity, 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 clarity. So my purpose in life is really clear. It's 2 words: to inspire authenticity. That's it. Everything I do, my family, my relationships, my friendships, my athletics, my coaching, my consulting, my training, my speak, all of it is designed to inspire more authentic expression, more expression from within, that organic, innate essence expression of who you are, the salmon up the stream, the moth to a light kind of stuff, right? And so that, gives me tremendous power, because it's really simple for me. If the things that I'm doing or thinking about doing, I can't easily see how they're connected to that, they're gone. I don't make them a part of my life. Your mission is literally a way to put into action your purpose. Okay, so our mission in our company at Full Circle Coaching and Consulting is to awaken individuals to the power of authentic expression, and then help them realize their full potential, both personally and professionally. Because we look at life very much in a hologram, and it's improbable, if not impossible, in my worldview, that you could create success in your personal life without success in your career or your professional life, and vice versa. Improbable or impossible in my worldview that you could have success in your business life, in your career, if you weren't having success in your personal life. So literally looking at that is clear. When you've got that crystal clarity about your purpose, here's how I contend that the world was put together. Each one of the 7.2-ish billion of us on the planet have a purpose. We have something that we're meant to accomplish, a reason we exist or do what we do. And if we focus on what that is and do it exclusively and do it really, really well, then that purpose ripples out and affects other lives. And when that person gets to fulfill their purpose, it ripples out and affects other lives, and so on and so on. Imagine, an example. You're in your chiropractic office and you're adjusting someone, and she happens to be a 5th grade school teacher. And by you adjusting her and keeping her clear, she gets to go and influence these little children's lives. And then these little children go out and interact with other children and their parents and their little, playmates and stuff at the hockey practice and stuff. And it ripples and it ripples and ripples. But you also, maybe adjust Mark the plumber. And Mark the plumber goes out, and then he gets to do his job really well. And by doing that, he's unclogging toilets and putting in new fixtures, and that allows other people to live their lives, and so on and so on and so on. I really see it, you guys, as like this huge chain of what I would call interconnected purposes. Each beautiful person on planet Earth interconnected to the next one, and in this beautiful chain. And to the degree that we all get that clarity about what our purpose is and live from that place and don't screw around with stuff that doesn't inspire us, is to the degree that this chain works beautifully and it flows effortlessly. For example, I would offer for you to get the clarity of vision. Knowing what you do want and what you don't want is really important. Knowing what you don't want is about listening to your inner voice, as I said earlier, and listen to what you're saying. For example, I haven't cut the grass in my home for over 20 years. Because I cut the grass years ago at our lakefront property, and it was like, man, I'm sitting there having a cold drink after. There's a nice breeze coming off the lake, and I saw the grass cut and the smell, and I thought, oh man, do I ever love cutting grass. And then I had like one of those, one-handed clap epiphanies, duh. And I said, I don't love cutting grass. I love the effect of fresh cut grass. I love the smell of it. I love the look of it. I love the pride of ownership of a well-manicured lawn. But I don't love cutting grass. I'm not inspired to cut grass. It's not why God loved me into existence. But I know there are people that are inspired to cut grass. Let me hire them to fulfill their purpose, because by them fulfilling their purpose, they're going to help me fulfill mine. Same as, the plumber, my plumber, Mark. He's an inspired guy. He can tell you more about an American Standard toilet than anybody. He can unclog a drain with a snake like nobody's business. I could go and mess around and probably unclog a drain. I don't want to. It's not why God loved me into existence. It's not the purpose of my life, right? That I don't see how that inspires authenticity, as I shared earlier, as my purpose. But it does fulfill Mark's purpose. And to the degree that I let Mark fulfill his purpose, and I'm not selfish enough to get in his way and do the job that he was put into existence to do, is to the degree the beautiful chain and the little green and blue planet spins beautifully on its axis. Steve Jobs said this really well, you guys. He said, your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. My words, be inspired. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know it when you find it. And like any great relationship, It just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking until you find it. Please don't settle. All right, let's do a quick review. From that place of values, okay, that we talked about earlier. Now, from that place of values, you can get that clarity about your purpose and your mission. And from that place of purpose and mission, the next step now is to how are we going to actualize this? How are we going to awaken individuals to the power of authentic expression? So what we look at here is a document we call, internally, at least in our programs, we call it, I Know I Am Successful When. And this came up, was augmented out of a conversation I had with one of my coaches years ago when he asked me these series of questions. He said, Tom, how do you know when enough's enough in your life? I said, what are you talking about, coach? And he goes, how do you know when enough time with your spouse is enough? How do you know enough time with your kids is enough? How do you know enough marketing in your practice is enough? How do you know enough money's enough? How do you know enough cars are enough? How do you know enough sex is enough? How do you know enough sports is enough? How do you know? How do you know? How do you know? How do you know? And he was just like fire hosing the hell out of me. And it was like, wow, man, dude, please stop. I do not have the answer to literally one of those questions at that point in my life. But I sensed like a tremendous value in understanding that, because you can actually, there literally is an antidote to the Western cultural mythos that says that bigger is always better and more is always better. Well, I don't want to have a bigger waistline. I don't want to have bigger debt. I don't want to eat Biggie fries in a 64-ounce Slurpee just because it's bigger. Bigger is not always better. So being able to define for yourself how you define success in your vision based upon your values, that's key. That's pivotal, you guys, right? Because then from that place, you can actually know when's enough. Because there literally is possible that there is a time to know when enough is enough. You don't necessarily, need to make X hundreds or millions of dollars in order to be successful in your life based upon your values. I'm not saying abundance is a bad thing. I love abundance. But there literally is a point where you can say, I choose this as a point in my life, where it's enough. So for example, in my life, physically, and I ask people to go around the entire hologram when you do this exercise. So when I mean the hologram, I'm talking about 7 areas of life: physical, mental, and spiritual, career, family, financial, and social. Okay, those are the 7 areas of life. And define for yourself what success is for you in those areas. These are statements, they're not goals. Okay, we'll talk about goals in a minute, because goals come out of these other exercises. Okay, all of this is defined to clarify your vision and give you the power of manifestation that you desire in your personal and professional life. So, from this place, then you're building that definition of success, as I said, for yourself. And the only definition of success that matters for you is yours. And the only definition of success that matters for me is mine. You just have to be courageous enough to do the homework to get the clarity about what it is for you. So, for me physically, and part of my physical statement of how I define success, one of the 3 statements is that I know I am successful when, fill in the blanks, I know I'm successful when I weigh between 190 and 200 pounds and have between 8 and 12% body fat. So that's a statement for me. It's not a goal. It's a statement. It's how I know success is for me. Out of that can come goal setting, okay? Because, for example, if that is one of my statements of success, part of my definition of success, then a goal for that would be, making sure that I'm eating healthy 7 days a week, 24/7, 365. Making sure that I'm getting adequate water. Making sure that I'm getting adequate rest. And making sure that I'm getting adequate exercise. And making definitions and goals from that place. You can see how it's all tied from your values, all up through your purpose and mission. And then from there to how your definition of success, what I call I know I am successful when. And goals that are made from that place, you guys, again, have the power, creativity, and wisdom of the universe behind them. And you will never, ever work again. Will you exert effort? Yes. But you will not necessarily be working. I was reminded of a time the other day when I used to weight train heavy. And I had about 35, 40 pounds actually on the frame that I have now. I was pretty bulked up. But I was on the leg press, and I had like 850 on the leg press, and I was grinding out the superset. And I got done this like grindy 4th set, and it was just like a puddle of sweat underneath the leg press. And I'm sitting there, and I'm looking across, and this real sweet retired old school mom with the little crow feet eyes and stuff. She's looking at me, and she goes, "That looked hard." I said, "Yeah, it was." And I kind of smiled and being a bit of a smart ass, and I said, "Will it ever get any easier?" She looked at me and she smiled. And she goes, "Yes. Well, then you'll just make it harder again." And I went, Of course. That is the purpose of the exercise and resistance. It's just the resistance is the purpose of the exercise. And so at that moment, I got tremendous joy about some of the things that I'd committed to my lives and some of the goals that I'd set, because there was resistance. It's not like I wasn't exerting effort, but it was joyous, fulfilling effort because it was tied to my values and was allowing to express my purpose, to life. All right. So let's talk about how we're going to monetize this, okay? Because I really think it's wise to take your goals and be able to monetize them, to be able to know what it would cost you in real, time and space terms to live the life that you've set out. So I contend that you should consider the fractionating, if you will, of dollars, and there should be 6 categories in relative to planning your life, your vision for your life, okay? Because here's the piece, you guys. I hope this is transparent. If you're not making these goals, your vision for your life, congruent with your values, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're just, quite frankly, too dumb to know it, as I was for different stages of my life. No disrespect intended. 6 categories: savings, taxes, lifestyle, big rocks, debt reduction, and business costs. Okay, so savings pretty transparent. I think for most people, paying yourself first is always wise. It's good psychology to pay yourself first versus paying. What a lot of people do is they pay all their bills, and if there's any money left, they try to have a life. That is incongruent with what most of the wise, well, actually at this point, all of the wise business and abundance conscious people have said. Targeting 10% of gross into savings is a good target. Taxes, you live in a G8 nation, you're just going to pay taxes. Having a percentage of revenue or net to go into taxes is wise. Is if you just use a flat number like 5 or 10 or 50,000 a month or whatever you're saving, and then your income goes up, but you're saving based upon last year's taxes, you get one of those nasty phone calls like I got early in my career where my accountant calls me and he goes, "Hey, Tom, I got good news and bad news." I said, "Well, dude, give me the good news." The good news is you made a whole lot more money this year than last year. I said, "Yay." I said, "What's the bad news?" He goes, "You got to write, the government a check for 38 grand by Friday." And this was Tuesday afternoon at 3. And I went, "Gosh, kabashkis, where the hell am I going to come up with 38 grand? I literally went to the couch, to the little cushions in the couch and started digging for change. I went to my truck and started looking in the lighter holder area, the old cigarette holder thing, to see if I could find any change. Because where the hell was I going to come up with 38 grand? It was a little stressful at the time. So taxes, lifestyle. This is what it costs to live your basic lifestyle: heat, hydro, rent or mortgage, or food, entertainment, those basics. Big rocks are things that light your life up and make you emotionally excited about your life. Okay, these are everything from, for us and our family, it was like, dinner with the family in the evening, 365 days a year. It doesn't cost us anything more to have dinner together than it would apart, but we chose to have dinner. It fed our souls. It made us excited about our lives. Big rocks are also to the extreme where, vacations to Disney or to Australia or one of the things that we've traveled the world with. So big rocks are that category. Debt reduction, again, pretty straightforward. This is personal debt. And then, of course, what it costs you to run your business, assuming that you're an entrepreneur. So if you take those categories, you can literally work it down and say, what does it cost me based upon my values, based upon my vision for my life, based upon how I define success, and I know I'm successful when, what does it cost me to live my life? And what does it cost me to live my life in my dream? And by literally working your way through these categories and filling in the blanks of what your dream lifestyle would look like based upon your values, what your big rocks would look like based upon your values, how much money you would love to save every month in order to get to a place where you could slow down / retire at some, further, so on, how quickly you want to pay down your debt, and so on and so on. You can literally work it down and come up with a number. And let's just say, for ease of reference, folks, you say I do up all these numbers, and for ease, it's $20,000 a month. That's what it would cost you to live this one version of your ideal, authentic vision for your life. So now it's easy to figure out exactly how many services you would need to provide in order to live that version of your life in your business. And again, since most or all of you are chiropractors, we're going to do it in a chiropractic essence. If you said, look, my average fee for service is, $50, and you had $20,000 of revenue would take you to live your life in your authentic vision for your ideal, as a fictional number I just made up, then it would be quite simple. You'd divide 50 into 20,000, and you'd realize you'd need to serve 400 services or adjustments per month, divide by 4 to put in the weekly coefficients, or 100 people a week, in order to live that version of your life and your ideal. And by doing that, folks, you can get, and whether the number's 100 or 300 or 9,000 isn't the point, it's that the why behind it is clear. the values, the purpose, the mission, the definition of success in your ideal from I know I am successful. All of that stuff is crystal clear. And then from that, you now have the why is so big, as Plato said, when the why is big enough, the hows look after themselves. And getting that clarity on your why is where, I really want you to be tonight, and where I'd like you to start from. If your current reality is significantly different than your vision that you've come up with by doing these exercises I'm offering to you, then I would encourage you to lay out a breadcrumb trail from how to go from where you are to where you want to go in a quarterly basis. And my mentor enrolled me in this idea, and I found it, bear out true in the thousands of clients that I've worked with over the years in my 18 years career as a coach consultant. Changes from a set point of 10 to 15% per quarter, okay? Changes in a set point of 10 to 15% per quarter are usually very doable. They usually don't create a big emotional response and that little voice in the back of your head telling you that you're silly for even trying, okay? So let's just pick an example and say that, maybe you're at, using my fictional example, 20,000 a month, that you are currently at 10,000 a month. Well, if you're going to grow in 10 to 50% increments per quarter, per 3-month or 90-day quarter, of which there's obviously 4 in a year, thus the quarter, then you would grow to say 11 to 11.5 in your first quarter. And then in your next quarter, you would grow to somewhere in the, 12,750 to 13.2. And the next quarter, you would grow, into the 14.5 to 15,000 range, and so on and so on. And you can lay out a, literally Hansel and Gretel breadcrumb trail from where you are to where you want to go, so that you can engage both your heart and your mind in it, right? And be able to access both of those tools to be able to move you forward towards, creating your ideal. When you look at actually how to build this thing from using my fictional example from 10 to 20,000, you want to use a series of goals. And if you have not been enrolled in the construct of the SMART goal, then I highly recommend I would love to enroll you in that tonight, basically. SMART goals, the acronym stands for specific, measurable, aligned, realistic, and time-bound, right? Specific, measurable, aligned, realistic, and time-bound. Specific is pretty straightforward. It's got to be specific enough so that it's measurable. If you do not have it specific and measurable, it is not a goal, it's a fantasy. Fantasies are, for the bedroom or for some other place, okay? Leave those there. This is not a goal. It's got to be specific and measurable. So then you can hold yourself accountable, or your accountability partners, your coach can hold you accountable for actually manifesting it in your ideal, okay? It must be aligned with your core values. If it's not aligned with your values, it's an incongruent goal. And again, it's not a goal, it's a fantasy. It must be realistic. You said, look, I'm at 10,000 a month now, and I want to go to 160,000 by Christmas. It's possible. It's just very improbable and not very realistic, okay? Because you'd have to do everything you're doing 16 times better, and that's unlikely. And time bound. You must put a deadline on it. Again, my mentor told me in this, if you do not put a deadline on it, it's not time bound. Again, it's just a fantasy or a wish. It's not truly a goal. And, my offering here is to basically, look at 10 and only 10 annual goals for how to expand your life, expand your practice. I would suggest 10 personal goals and 10 professional goals. Only 10. That's it. And the reference book I'll give you on this is from Vern Harnish, and it's called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. Okay? Vern Harnish, Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. Brilliant book. And it literally, talks in more depth setting, SMART goals, and how to lay this stuff out. But he's shown from his studies that if you just take on 10 goals, and again, specific, measurable, aligned, realistic, and time-bound, and focus on 10 and only 10 per year, you can help move your company and your life forward. And ideally, you would do that at like an annual general meeting or an annual planning meeting, which I highly recommend to do in fourth quarter, October, November. So since it's going to be here sooner than we can know, if you do not have an annual general meeting, please book one, right? Make it at least a day. Our AGM this year is going to be down in Bradenton, Florida with my team. It's going to be 3 days long. Sorry, not 6, 3. And again, and we've got a certain construct and a flow for that. If you've never done an AGM and would love some help setting up, or would love to have a consultant come in and help you run it so it's done properly, give me a call. Give me an email, drtom@drtompreston.com, and I'd be happy to talk to you about how we can help you do that through one of our authenticity coaches, okay? Once you've got your 10 annual goals, then you take your vision and you break it down into 5 quarterly goals, which are subsets and parts of and support those annual goals. Many of these times the goals are so big that you literally can't do it in a quarter. So one of our annual goals in our company this year is to start to do live events, live trainings. And so we took our 4-part process of vision, focus, systems, and team, which has only been taught virtually, and we literally are now doing a live event once a quarter in Toronto. Well, it's an annual goal to create that structure of those programs, live programs, but it became a quarterly goal that went through each one of those. Because obviously, folks, if I'm enrolling in the idea of doing 10 annual goals, but 5 quarterlies, well, 4 5s is 20, not 10. Well, the reality is that many of the aspects of those quarterly goals are subsets where you take the bigger annual goals, you break them down into subsets, and some of those goals may transmit over 1 or 2 or multiple quarters. Okay? Because when you're focusing on just that and only that, you've got power, you've got clarity, and you've got the ability to really just stay laser beam focused. One of my mentors has a friend who's ran $3 billion businesses. You know, built one, sold it, built another one, sold it. Guy's quite the serial entrepreneur. And he was so clear on this, 10 annual goals and 5 quarterly goals. And he had people literally write it on like a recipe card, the 5 quarterly goals. And if they were caught anywhere on the premises without those quarterly goals, they were fired on the spot. And there's a story about this gentleman meeting one of his senior executives, and they were, literally standing beside each other in the urinals in the men's washroom. He asked him to show him his 5 quarterly goal card. He didn't have it. He fired him on the spot. Severance package, out the door he went. He was that important to him. And I don't know. I've never created a billion-dollar company. Anybody that's created 3 of them? Apparently there might be something to this idea of having 5 quarterly goals that are supporting your long-term goals. All right. What we've been talking about tonight, you guys, is vision, coming from a place of values, going into your purpose and mission, going in from there into your definition of success, so I know I'm successful when, coming down and filtering through to specific 10 annual goals, 5 quarterly goals, okay? And really all of that we've been talking about is really the short-term piece, or the year, or maybe optimally, 2 years. Once you've got that base and foundation built on 1 to 2 years, I immediately think there's tremendous value to enrolling in the idea of going to create a midterm vision, which is 5 to 7 years, okay? And or even maybe even 8 years. Because in that space, you're actually leveraging on top of what you've already got, and you're building, okay? And so I want you to immediately start to plan out your midterm vision. Once you got your midterm vision laid out, start building out your long-term vision, which is your 10, 15, 20-year vision, okay? Because when you've got that amount of clarity, it's easier now to then when you go out there, 5, 7, 10, 12, 15, 20 years, you can now reverse engineer backwards to things to be focused on this year, this quarter, this month, this week, things you should be doing today in order to move you forward to fulfilling the life of your authentic dreams. And I can tell you, folks, what, quite frankly, could be, better than that. All right. So here's some things I'd love to give you as freebies, as takeaways for, investing some time to be with me tonight. Core values checklist. I already talked about that. An annual goals template, a way to literally take those targets we talked about, the 10 annual goals, the 5 quarterly goals, and it's a tool by which you can literally place to record all of that data. And also what we call our bliss sheet, or business life plans intention sheet. It's a place to literally do the math that I talked about how much money should go into savings and taxes and lifestyle and big rocks and debt reduction and your business costs. And as a result of knowing your average fee for service, you can then literally, figure out right to the exact number whether you should be serving 142 or 314 or whatever the number is, services, and you can build it on your why, okay? Which, by the way, folks, you can also use the same kind of metrics and technology on your values to figure out literally how many hours you should be working in your clinic, okay? So an exercise I did years ago. So let me give you an example of this. Let's just say when you do this math we laid out, that you need to see 200 people a week, just to pick a number out of the air, all right, in order to live your life in your authentic ideal at this time in your life. Now what you can do is you can look at how many people you love to serve on average per hour, and always the gold standard here is how long does it take you to adjust your family, okay? So for me, when I'm adjusting my family, I'm pretty efficient. It usually only takes me like a few minutes, like say 3-4 minutes in order to adjust my family. And so that's always my gold standard. I feel like they're getting the best level of care. My family always gets care out of me. So take 3 minutes and we divide that into an hour. That's obviously 20 people an hour. So if I'm going to be adjusting 200 people in a week, I can divide 20 into 200 and say that I should be having about 10 adjusting hours per week. You add on another 3 or 4 for extended appointments, and basically your office hours should be around 14, maybe 15 hours a week, plus training and, staff and administration time. That could be 18 to 20 hours a week. And that would give you your ideal numbers of practice hours that you should be booking in your clinic. So this whole big picture I've been painting for you guys, hopefully it's transparent what I've been offering to you tonight, which is an opportunity to work from that place of values, that place of certainty, and build your vision for your life from there. Because in the world that I look at, folks, I do see, when I look into the universe, I see the laws, I see a creative intelligence there. I choose to call it God. People can call it what they want, Mary, Bob, Buddha, whatever. But the essence of it is that the vast majority of the human beings I interact with believe that there's a creative intelligence. Not some old dude sitting on a cloud with a big beard necessarily, okay? That's religion, right? What we're talking about is an observation about intelligence. And I contend that there's a subset of that within each one of us, which in chiropractic we call innate, that wants to express itself in a certain unique and authentic way. And to the degree that we can get clarity on that, and we can connect to that from that place of authenticity, is where we get the power, creativity, and wisdom of the cosmos on our side. And what, quite frankly, folks, could be better than that? If you're someone that really just wanted to get some content tonight, then you know what? Thank you for being with us. If you're someone that would like to explore, well, you know what? How can I get some more information, Tom, about how to, take this concept further? Which, by the way, to get those giveaways, I'm sorry, folks, I didn't read out the slide. It's www.drtompreston.com/vision-webinar-giveaways. Okay, drtompreston.com/vision-webinar-giveaways, and you get everything that you need there. So if you're someone that would like to get a little bit more information about how to take this concept further and how to get some support and help by defining your authentic life and taking these exercises I briefly covered in this webinar, love for you to join us in our Chiropractic Excellence Mastermind, starting in a few weeks. You can find out a whole lot more about it under chiropracticexcellencemastermind.com. This is where we're going to go in and we're going to cover all kinds of things, folks, right? We're going to help you clearly define your vision for your personal and your professional life. We're going to help you get that clarity about your values through a much more advanced, questionnaire than even I can offer you tonight, although the one I'm offering you is pretty decent. Getting into how you should be managing your time as a result of your values. What things you should be marketing and doing to, create it. How to create efficient systems in your practice. How to build a sense of community. And how to ensure that these results last. It's a 12-module program. It's dished out on a once-a-week basis, taught through teleseminar webinar formatting. And it's supported and customized to your individual life and business by my team of authenticity coaches that I've handpicked that will help customize the data and material. There is assignments that have to be turned in every week. So there's accountability built into the program. I am long since past, folks, offering programs and possibilities to people to have them, gain dust on a shelf. That to me is a complete waste of your time and money. This is a program, it's live, it's didactic, there's accountability built in, and there's coaches designed to help you work your way through and customize the program, by email. If for some reasons you can't get there some weeks, there is a recording of it that can, move you through and help you, get that clarity. So again, we call that the Chiropractic Excellence Mastermind Program. Really simple URL, chiropracticexcellencemastermind.com. You can hopefully see it at the bottom of this particular slide. That's chiropracticexcellencemastermind.com. It's starting in a few weeks. It literally has limited seating because of just literally the ratio we want to keep of coaches to clients. And so again, if you're interested in taking this concept further, we'd love to have you explore that, see if it's a good fit for you. One last thing I'd like to offer you tonight, folks, if you're interested in taking these concepts further, I talked to you already about the live programs we're doing in the Toronto area once a quarter. Our next one is in September 26, 27. It's our systems program. We're literally in the office of my dear friend, Dr. Peter Amlinger, because we're going to be working on chiropractic systems in a chiropractic office. I think that environment matters. I can't think of a better place to do it than in a high volume practice. It's literally going to be focusing largely on marketing systems and education systems. The two systems that, in my opinion, are the most important in a chiropractic business: how to get them in the door and how to ensure they see the value of staying, right? And so if you're interested in doing that, we'd love to have you come and check that out. Again, you can check it out on my website, drtompreston.com. And I believe if you go to /seminars, then you'll come to the URL. But if you just go to the website, look coming events, you can definitely find out more about that. So with that, folks, I will take my leave, and hopefully we've been able to enroll you in the constructs and concepts of what it means to build an authentic life vision for yourself, starting from that place of clarity about your values, working on your purpose, your mission, your definition of success, and I know I am successful when, creating 10 annual and 5 quarterly goals in order to move you forward as efficiently and effectively as possible. Once you've got your short-term vision, you immediately layer on top of that your midterm vision, and on top of that your long-term vision, and then reverse engineer back to the things you should be working at this year, this quarter, this month, this week, today, to move you forward to designing and manifesting the life of your authentic dreams. You deserve it. You desire it. Your child is small. If we can be of service to you in your journey, we'd love to do that. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I look forward to being of service to you in the future on either future webinars or possibly in our Chiropractic Excellence program. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks. Good night.